Hi everyone, welcome to the Puppet Podcast on the road again. So I get the chance for this show, this number seven, to be in Worcester, like we say,
Worcester, yeah.
Worcester,
yeah.
Massachusetts, and I met a puppeteer. I saw him in Boston at the puppet show place when I was there. Like, I let him present himself. This is right there, John.
Hello.
John is a puppeteer, and you always live in Worcester, or?
Oh yes, no, I've always lived. I'm born and raised in Worcester. Oh yes, yeah. And I saw my first puppet show when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. And my mother took me to a puppet theater about a half hour from here. There was a man that was a teacher, and he had a puppet theater in his backyard. Made up from a carriage house. It was inside a carriage house.
Whoa.
It was called the Toy Cupboard Theater. And he had two little dogs. I'm Punch and Judy. He had two little dogs that he had. Yeah, but he put on puppet shows like, on the weekends he'd do puppet shows. Like every third Saturday or so forth.
Whoa.
And, yeah.
Interesting.
And that's how I got interested in it. And
a mentor, maybe?
A little bit. Oh yes. Oh absolutely. Yeah. And after that, I decided right at that point that I'd be a puppet. I wanted to be a puppeteer. Even though I got to try other things, my mother was very good about pushing me into other things. I did saxophone playing and dancing and even ice skating. I did that a little bit, yeah. But never really anything that really fit until I started to do puppet shows, yeah.
Wow.
And I started quite young. I was very enterprising as a kid. I wish I was enterprising now.
You could say like the crush for puppeteering at 5 years old?
About 4 or 5 years old. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh absolutely. Oh yes. Yeah. Well, and when I was a little bit older than that, I said, I'll put a little ad in the paper. It was about $2 or $3 at that point in the classified ads. I said, well, I'll do puppet shows for churches and parties and so forth. And I started to get phone calls to do puppet shows. So one thing led to another. One person would tell one other person, and another person would tell another person.
Word of mouth.
And word of mouth, and that's how it developed. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
So you could say you get a long career, like.
Yeah, oh yes. Well, now I've been doing it close to maybe 50 years. A long time.
50 years.
50 years, a long time. Oh yes, yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh yes,
because I always said like art is something who start really earlier in our life, and sometimes people just put it on the side and say this is one young entertainment hobby.
Yes, yeah.
But some people just keep
on.
going.
Well, that's what the puppeteer told my mother at the puppet theater. He said if he's still interested when he's like 12 or 13, there might be something to this, because most kids are interested in puppets and so forth. But he said when he gets to be a young teenager, if this continues, it could be something that he would want to do for a profession. Oh yeah.
And what do you think is the best, like the background? Like if someone wants to start puppeteering, or if someone is interested, like some people come from like set design, some people are coming from like performance.
Oh, absolutely.
What you would
say?
Well,
I learned just from watching other puppeteers. There wasn't any school. Now you can go to University of Connecticut. They have a program, and there are other puppet courses and so forth. But back in my day, there wasn't any such thing. So I depended on just watching other puppeteers and books. A lot of library books I would read on puppetry. So that's a good way to start, I think, just by watching others. Yeah. Oh yes.
And when you design puppet, do you like take care of the material you choose, like the dimension? What is your like?
Well, I think the first thing that
we have a phone call here. We will get back to you.
Right back.
Yeah. Okay. So we are back from the call. Yeah. So we were talking about material and dimension when you design a puppet. I'm working in giant stuff.
Oh yeah.
You have like
I have a real variety of different puppets that I use now. Most of my shows are presented with sort of, large hand puppets. But I also do marionettes as well, and some life-size puppets too. Of course, I have to travel with them, so it has to fit in the car. That's the main. That is the main thing. Yes, it has to fit in the car. If it, and even I have case. If I have a case about yay big. And if the show doesn't fit in that case, and then I don't do it. Yes. So it has to travel well. That's the main thing. And even the big puppets sort of have to collapse sometimes. Yes, the legs sort of fold, or there's springs or something.
And the material have to stay slick.
Exactly. To a manageable size, so I can carry it in and out. Yeah. So that's when the big puppets come into play. It really is a matter of if I can put them into a bag and shrink them down a little bit. Yeah. So there's a lot of wires and springs and so forth, and elastics that do that.
And how you answer if like a kids or like an adult, someone asks you the question like the definition, what is a puppet? Like what it is in your own words.
Well, I think a puppet could be anything really that you can animate. You can pick up a jar of tomato sauce and just and that could be a puppet too. In fact, I think there is a puppeteer that actually presents. I think they do Snow White, but it's all done with products like grocery items.
Those objects.
So objects. So anything really can be a puppet, anything that you can animate. And
absolutely. Do you have like when you maybe train a young puppeteer, some like rules you put? Like some people talk about like the nose, the vision, the breathing. Do you have like specific things you say this is really important to make credibility to the manipulation?
Well, I think if you're doing say a solo show and there are two puppets on the stage, first of all, you have to make sure that they're kind of straight up. They're standing upright, and also that they're engaged with each other. If one is talking, you don't want the other one just there. The head has to move a little bit. Has to be a little interaction with it to make sure that they're actually interacting with the other puppet. So that's very important. And listening, absolutely. So I'd say that's one of the main.
The straight and the
exactly.
listening motion.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Never just completely just there while the other one is talking. Just a little bit of a head movement or a mouth movement, just to engage them. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you observe like people like?
I did. Well, yes, I did. Well, as I said, other puppeteers. I watched. Yeah, and I. As a kid, I get to watch, Paul Vincent Davis, who is a wonderful puppeteer and a fantastic craftsman of puppets as well. And I was very lucky because I had sort of mentors. There was the puppet show place in Brookline. Mary Churchill was a great help to me, actually.
You have knew her.
Like, absolutely. Her. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because I have to say that I was living in the apartment of those famous people
absolutely.
Of puppeteering, and I was in that Grand in Boston. I was like kind of feeling I was inside a world of like magic and those books on the wall. So maybe you can like talk to me about those people.
Well, I'll tell you, Mary Churchill was she was quite the woman, in fact, and a visionary for starting the puppet show place. I mean, in that day, that wasn't really done. Somebody, especially a woman too, actually,
at that time.
At that time, and she was a great mentor to me. In fact, a lot of the nice things that happened to me happened because of her recommendation. I got to play the Smithsonian and do the Jim Henson Festival back in the 90s. That was one of the highlights that happened to me, due to Mary, actually,
Whoa.
And and looking back, I would really, I really like to thank her for, she passed way too soon, but it's always a good idea to thank your mentors. If somebody, was instrumental in your life, and tell them how much they meant to you. And she was very instrumental in helping me with a career, that's for sure.
I was feeling her spirit.
I'm sure, yes. And now Roxy, who's taken over, sort of like, I don't know, it's like Mary's hand sort of you know, pass it on to her because she's excellent. She's wonderful at operating the theater.
I will interview her soon. You will.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yes.
And do you think like puppeteering is an art who go like more famous in an ascension, or
I don't know. You know, it's interesting to me because you know, especially with kids, with you know, computer games and you know, and toys and so you know, electronic toys and tablets and everything. It is interesting to know that it's still you know, it's still something that kids are interested in. You know, go interested. Oh, a puppet show. Yeah, but so I hope it never goes out of style. You know, I think it's probably like balloons. Balloons are so simple. You know, so, but kids still bubbles are another thing. Oh yes, they're just like magic. So. You know, I think it's interesting to me that the puppets still, you know, have a place and kids still enjoy it. Oh yes, yeah.
We often think in terms of kids, but do you think like adult could also get touched about in the adult
Oh yes,
fashion?
well that's the only thing. That's the thing. I think in America especially, I don't think there's quite the. It's more thought of as children's. You know, entertainment and so forth.
Yeah, I think in Europe, like
more so. Yeah. So I hope that develops too. You know, with some more adults. And there is that like Broadway shows and so forth. I think shows like The Lion King and so forth. You know, sort of bring that more to an adult level. Oh yeah.
And do you have like to conclude a puppet you want to bring to the podcast?
Well, let's see. Well, let's see. I have my. This is my trapeze poodle here, which was very tricky to make.
String puppet is
a string puppet. Very tricky.
I can
so we can.
Yeah, come on down.
All right. Let's see if we can. She's on her trapeze here, and let's see if she can do. We getting a long shot of it. There we go. And let's see if she can. She's kind of tricky to. Took a long time to see what she could do here, but there she goes. There we go.
Amazing.
Act here.
Come on, girl.
Oh, let's see. There she goes. Yeah. One paw.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Circus.
There we go.
Circus girl.
Yes. That's some cirque activity there. And there she goes, and that's Madame Fifi. Yeah.
Oh. Amazing. You make her talk?
I do. Well, she doesn't really talk. No, she does. You know, she does her acrobatic, you know, act to music here. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I get back here.
There we go. So there's Madame Fifi.
Madame Fifi. Yeah. And you are really into string puppets.
Not really. No, I'm into almost everything. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think that's my strongest suit. Is string puppets. I think more so hand puppets. Probably my stronger suit, but I am interested in string puppets.
You do like mouth puppets?
Oh yes, mouth puppets and regular hand style. Oh yes, yeah. But I've always been intrigued with string puppets, but I wouldn't say I was a master string puppet person by any means. Yeah, but I do enjoy it.
And the voice, like because this guy maybe.
Oh, this fish. Yeah. Well, of course, I've had a lot of experience with. Practice doing voices, but
oh yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. And I'm very for some reason fish. I have two fish actually that fish and poodles or something that play a certain part in my. I don't know. I'm intrigued by them. Yeah. But here's the fish puppet. Yeah.
The fish puppet. I love it. Yes.
And I like that. I think the main thing I really like to do is the construction and making puppets. That's probably my main. Oh yes, the building. Oh yeah.
Do you want to build for others?
You know, it's hard because you spend so much time building them, and it's like, oh, I can't pot. You know, after I build them, it's like, oh, it's too much to, you know, after all that work.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's like I don't think I could part with them. Yeah, so I can't build them for other people. I'm afraid. Oh yeah. Yeah, I become too attached. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like getting.
It's like giving away a member of the family. Exactly. Yes, and then giving away your child. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
On the road, I don't feel alone. I get puppeteer along the way. So thank you, everyone, and keep subscribing and look puppeteering.
Bye.